welcome to another Leica review. Today we will be discussing Leica's new series of lenses that are specifically made for cinema. I'm particularly talking about the M series. For decades, we as cinematographers and directors have been wanting to use Leica lenses, especially the M series, but up until recently we haven't had that chance. But if you wanted to use Leica lenses for what we call the cinema cameras like the RED, you would have to spend somewhere around $360,000 to $400,000 for a set. Now that is not within the budget of most photographers, and it's not in the budget of most amateurs. And for that very reason, the only thing that has been accessible is to use it with lower or pro-consumer grade cameras. I'll give you an example. Here is a GH4. I use this because it's a Micro Four Thirds, and I can put an adapter with one of the Leica lenses, like the Noctilux, to use it. But unfortunately, the image quality would never match something like the RED, which is here. Now the RED camera is what I like to use when I'm filming because it is the best camera, as far as I'm concerned, for filming certain types of films. I'll give you an example. Star Wars, James Bond, they all use this piece of equipment. The reason is it provides an incredible dynamic range with a quality that is unmatched with anything that is used in the photography world. Now, I have had people complain saying, why do you not use Leica to film your reviews? Well, would you rather use a $6,000 or $7,000 equipment that has been processed, or would you use what they would use for Star Wars? Obviously, I use Leica because it's one of the best equipment out there, and I use the RED because it's simply one of the best cinema cameras out there. So now what we have is Leica introducing a series called 0.8 M for the RED. Now some people think that this is something new, which is not. I will explain why. Up on recent times, we could only use RED with certain mounts, what we call the PL mount or REPL mount, which allowed certain types of PL mount lenses to be attached to it. We could use Canon mount, or we could use Nikon mount. They had Leica mount as well, but the Leica mount was causing problem because of the flange distance between the sensor and the lens, and also there were problems with, for example, you could not use this lens because it was not declicked, which means that you could not operate the iris comfortably enough to pull focus and aperture. When the RED announced the M mount, they said you could use 50mm and upwards. What that meant was you could not use lenses that were below 50mm. Now, but if you go on to the RED form, which is the camera's form, you would find these various articles discussing the use of Leica mounts on the RED. Now, of course, the 50mm mount was there, and some individuals, some cinematographers, directors have tried to mount 35mm, 24mm, even 21mm onto it. Of course, they had problems because it was not designed to operate with 50mm and below. Now, when they did mount, they had problems in terms of purple fringing, which we call a chromatic aberration. They had problems with flare, and they had problems with vignetting. Now, most pronouncedly, vignetting and chromatic aberration was an issue that they could not resolve by simply playing around with the lens. Now, I have used RED cameras with different mounts, Nikon, Canon, there's also the PL mount. I personally didn't want to go and test new territories with the Leica M mount until the reports came in terms of what results were achieved by using a wide-angle lens, because the previous attempts to use wide-angle lenses on the red with the Leica mount had caused vignetting and chromatic aberration problems. So for that reason, I'm kind of waiting to see what the results would be. Now, that's not to discount the quality of the lens. The quality of the lens is superb, and the quality of the lens is one of the factors that determines the image quality. And for that reason, I would love to put a Leica M mount on this on this camera. But the issue is what happens when I put a 21mm, or what happens when I put a 24mm, because that will determine how useful this set of lenses would be. Now, if you look at what the announcement is, you have 21, you have 24, 28, 35mm, which is a Simulex, and then you have the 35mm, also a Simulex 1.4 aperture, which is beautiful for low light. Then you have the 50mm Noctilux, which is a 0.95, which I think has one of the most characteristic images that you could ever capture, either in photography or cinema. But the problem is, using this Noctilux by itself is not sufficient at times to capture what you are trying to say or in a story in terms of cinema. So they have a variety of lenses. That's why they are sold in kits or sets, which goes from a wide aperture all the way up to 85 or 100mm. Now, being limited in terms of 50mm is an issue, because you cannot use follow focus, you cannot use iris control, which I will explain in a minute what they mean. But having to step into a new boundary where these issues may have been resolved would mean a new venue for us to explore what this beautiful lens can do. And beyond that, I think they went and they did the right thing by not rehousing these lenses into bigger bodies, because then it would lose one of the major advantages, which is the size. Now, if you look at you might have seen the pictures of these big lenses that are used in cinema, and they are heavy. They weigh anywhere from 1.5 pounds to 3-4 pounds, even 7 pounds. And what happens is that it makes it impossible for someone who wants to use it for gimbal or drone work. And that limiting factor has been an issue for cinematographers. But when you put a small lens like this onto a red camera, what will happen is that you can actually have a very compact camera where you can use the space around you in tight spots, like in a car or in a tightly spot. And you can also use it for drone work. You can also use it for doing gimbal work. Now, for that reason, I love the fact that there is an option out there. Now, certain things that they have done with the new lenses is they first of all clicked it. So when you turn the aperture, you will hear these clicking sounds, which are removed. So what happens is you can control the iris very effectively when you are filming. And now, second thing is that if most of the lenses, even here you can see this thumb dial, which is a very short distance. Now, most lenses that are used in cinema are 300 degree, which means that there's a big rotational spin that allows the person who's pulling focus or controlling the focus to be able to determine precisely what the focus is going to be. Now, Leica lenses, being notoriously short in focus throw, has caused a major problem for cinematographers. Now, with the new aperture and focus ring that will be placed on these lenses, it will be allowing the cinematographers and photographers to even use these on their cameras effectively. I would also mention that people are wondering, why is it called 0.8? Well, that's the pitch module that is used in cinematography equipment or cinema equipment. It's an accessory that allows you to turn the dial to focus, and that's beautiful. The aluminum ring around the focus and the aperture ring is very important, because that's going to allow the cinematographers to use these lenses to their maximum capabilities. And also we are going to have these new set of lenses that will be probably continued after the 50mm, which will be the 75-90, and perhaps the 135, which will give the cinematographers a set of lenses that is very useful, very accurate, and has the characteristics of a Leica. Now, Leica is known for its color renditioning, the natural skin tones, and it's for this reason I'm very excited to see the Leica lenses on the red. The most important factors when using these lenses is the number of aperture blades. Now that determines the bokeh characteristics. Now, in the past, if you have ever wondered about the way the cinema lenses are constructed, they have many blades, 11, 10, 12, and these aperture blades form the bokeh around, which is smooth, which is beautiful, which renders the images very strongly. Now with these lenses, the aperture is a lot different, and for that reason there will be a difference in the way that it is rendered compared to, for example, Summilux Cs. And also the renditioning will be a very characteristics of the Leica M line, which is one of the reasons I like it. Now, in my upcoming film, if these lenses are out and they have good reviews, I might be putting them in instead of using other brands. Personally, I feel that the cinematography will eventually overlap into photography and vice versa, because the quality of images that are coming out of photography lenses and the cinema lenses are kind of merging at a point where the quality is almost indistinguishable from the cinema lenses. Of course, there is ways to go. There is a big gap in price range. For example, a good lens, a cinema lens, would range in the $20,000 to $25,000 range. Best of the M series, for example, this one is about $12,000 to $13,000. That is significantly different than the cinema lenses. But given that, the quality and the results will be so spectacular that you would probably consider these lenses as good or even better than some of the other lenses that are out there for cinema. I would like to thank Leica and Sonder Optics for bringing these lenses out and giving us this opportunity to use them. And I think that in the near future we will have very good results. Also, when the new lenses come out, I'll offer you sample footages with the red, and I'm hoping that you have enjoyed this review, and I look forward to seeing you in my next review. Thank you for watching.